Hey sisters and brothers, it's Mindy here. This has been quite the day. It's my 41st birthday and we're only halfway through it. It's 1 o'clock mountain time. And there's like so much has happened already. It's amazing. I will share some of that with you today in this post, in this video. But what we're here to talk about is what's yoga? What is this thing we hear about called yoga? I have spent most of my adult career teaching yoga. I'm a yoga teacher. I am a professional teacher of teachers. I am an expert in this field. And I don't practice very much asana. Most people, when they think about yoga, think about what it looks like, where you're doing a warrior two and you've got your arms stretched out and you're in a big lunge. What you see on TV, what you see on commercials. I mean, like the form of yoga is everywhere. We see it on magazine covers and we see it in Facebook and Instagram posts. I mean, there are some amazing people out there who can do amazing things with their body and they put it in the form of yoga, which is true, absolutely true. And that's not all there is. There's so much more to yoga than just the asana. So if you can't stand on your head, if you can't put your foot behind your head, by the way, I can't put my foot behind my head. If you can't stand on your hands or do the splits or touch your toes even, you can still practice yoga, all right? Because the form, the asana, the postures are a very limited piece of what yoga has to offer. Now, why do we all think that's yoga? Well, it's beautiful. It's relatable. It taps into our physical body and it has enormous benefits. Hey, Danny. And Birdie too. Hey. Anyways, the form of yoga feels great to the body and there are enormous benefits that you can get out of moving your body through these different shapes. It's miraculous. The way it makes you feel, the way it helps you feel empowered and tuned in to who you really are. And that's just scratching the surface of who you really are. If you think that the only power that yoga has is to move the body and help you feel tapped in because you're moving your body, that is a myth. And I'm here to bust that today. All right. Yoga, as it was originally intended, didn't have any postures. People just sat and meditated. That's it. The Yoga Sutras, one of my favorite guidebooks to living, says at the very beginning that in this moment, the practice and the study of yoga begins. And most people skip over this first thread of wisdom that it offers. But for me, this is the key. It is to get here in the present moment. And then the next sutra says, the mind stuff, the chitter chatter in the mind is what gets in the way of being in the present moment. Yoga's chittavritti nirodha. It says yoga is about controlling the chitter chatter in the mind. All that stuff that goes on in the head, it's about the mind. Yoga is about the mind. And anybody who's practiced asana or the postures knows this. You know that on a good day, when your mind is right there with you and you are flowing so smoothly and your mind is in it and everything feels aligned, you're present, you feel great in those postures. But if you did that same class or you went back to that same teacher and the next day you were all up in your head because you just had a fight with somebody at work, something's not going right in your relationship, on the way to the studio or your class, somebody honked at you and you didn't deserve it, any number of things could get in your head. And when things get in your head and you do the same type of practice, that practice in your physical body feels a lot harder. Can anybody relate to that? Yeah? It's much harder to stand on your head when things are running through your head like crazy, when you've got something playing on repeat. But when your mind is calm and centered and focused in this moment, then standing on your head isn't so hard. All right, now it is kind of hard, okay, but not really. If you know the techniques, you can get through it. But the point is, no matter what kind of pose you are practicing, the mind can either help you move forward into that more gracefully, no matter what it looks like, no matter how far into the pose you are, or it can hinder you. Let's take the splits for an example. So the splits is a great posture. My body used to love doing the splits all the time. Now I look like I'm just doing a really big wide lunge, okay? Now, when I teach the splits, that's what I tell people. The splits really are just a big lunge. And so you want to spread your legs out as far as they'll go today. But if your mind tells you, well, I'm not really doing the splits because my butt's not on the floor, my legs aren't straight, then you're going to have a hard time breathing in that pose. You're not going to really embrace the benefits that you're getting from having your legs spread so wide. But if you go, oh, yeah, I'm in a big freaking lunge and this feels so great and I'm right here with it and it feels amazing. I love this. That's totally different. That's a whole different situation. So if you limit the path of yoga to just the body, it limits your potential. Now, if you start to recognize that the mind has something to play in there, then you'll start to recognize that your mind does have something to play in your asana poses, in your postures. And maybe one day you'll say, this just isn't doing as much for me as it used to. That's where I find myself. I moved about 9 months ago. And since then, I've done very little regular practice of asana. Now, some people would just say that I'm lazy or whatever, but I have a very steady practice of meditation and mindfulness throughout the day. That is and has always been my yoga practice. The asana is like frosting on top of my cake of yoga. The cake itself, the most important part, that is living right. That's the philosophy of yoga. That's the mind work. I mean, honestly, yoga is like the original mindset work. Everybody's talking about a positive mindset these days, an abundance mindset, whatever kind of mindset of success. But the original yoga is the original mindset work. I mean, it says, be here in this present moment. When you're thinking about the story that has always kept you small, that's in the past. When you're worried about stepping forward and moving into that presentation, that's worried about the future. That's not the present moment. When you are in this present moment, you have the ability to recognize the thoughts that are in your mind, to be here fully embodied in who you are. And when you have control over the thoughts in your mind, then the light of the soul shines through. That's the third sutra, right? And so it allows your brilliance, your divine passion, your soul's purpose to be lived fully. When you can be in the moment, when you can recognize the trickiness of your mind, when you can see the problems that you're creating and that you're facing as just opportunities for courage and growth, well, shit, life gets a whole lot easier. You still face the same challenges, the same problems, or similar, but your mindset is completely different about them. Totally different. All right. Now, another great tool that yoga has to offer is the breath. And everybody knows how to breathe. Everybody knows how to breathe. If we didn't, we wouldn't be here. All right. But the breath is the only system in our body that can be subconsciously as well as consciously controlled. All right. Well, on a regular basis for all humans. Some people can control their heart rate, but we're not talking about those folks right now. We're just talking about you and me, regular folks. Now, when you work on actually regulating your breath, that will help calm your nervous system. That will help calm your heart rate. That will help calm the crazies, the gremlins in your mind. So the breath has enormous power. And yogis know how to access and utilize that power. They call it your vital life force. All right, so if you're breathing shallow, you're sitting like this every day and you're breathing just into your chest. Your head's forward. You just feel diminished. You feel lackadaisical. You don't feel clear. You feel foggy. You don't want to do anything. Your mind isn't on your side. But when you sit up and you actually breathe full, deep, complete breaths, you are empowered. You have the ability to face whatever challenges confront you. You can be you, yeah? And so there's oodles of ways that you can really utilize the breath. One of my favorites is a Kapalabhati. it looks silly and it feels funny and you're bouncing just a little bit if you're sitting on a chair like I am. But your belly goes in and out rapidly. You focus on your exhales, and it just allows you to get more clear. It pushes stuff out. It helps you tap into your spirit. Oh my goodness. Okay. So there's the breath. There's the mindset work. And then there's these things called the yamas and niyamas. And I'm not going to go through all of those today, but they're basically ways that we approach the world, how we relate to the world, and how we relate to ourselves. And these are just principles of being a good person. There's 10 of them, and they really give us a roadmap, a guidebook about what to do when we face different obstacles. So the first one that it starts with is kindness. It's called Ahimsa in Sanskrit, and it is also translated as nonviolence. I love to focus on the positive rather than the negative, so I don't usually utilize the translations that focus on the negative, the non-aspect, nonviolence. Yeah, we want to live without violence, of course, but what is that really? It is love and kindness at all times. And that doesn't mean that you're a pushover. It really means that you are willing to face the world and relate to it in a different way than ever before. It allows you to hold every single human being, every single being on this planet, and even the non-sentient beings, in regard, with love, with gratitude. Isn't that amazing? To be able to relate to the world from a different place. Instead of fear, you come from love. That's the goal of life, is to be able to embrace your strength, to be able to really relate to the world with love. To no longer let fear hold you back. So, wow, like, can you imagine some of the people who've done this? Gandhi, Mother Teresa, and they're amazing examples of this, but we each have the capacity to do this. When our minds are no longer being conditioned by the past, they're no longer focusing on the stress of the future, but they are here, we let the light of the soul shine through, and the light of the soul coming through is goodness. It is relatability. It is no longer seeing somebody as your opponent, but as a soul sister or brother. You may have disagreements with them. That's cool. But you don't let that get in the way of your relationship with them. All right. The next one is truthfulness. Okay, so this is interesting. I did this post today. It's my 41st birthday, like I said. Funny thing, I woke up this morning, didn't know what day it was. Didn't even know that it was my birthday. Anyways. But I put this post out, and I said, this is part of my story, and this is not relevant at all. And the part of my story said that I was born in Nebraska, Grand Island, Nebraska. Small town, 40,000 when I was there, 50,000 now, I think. But a small town in Nebraska. And I was born into a family. I was the fourth child. And the story that I told myself was that I wasn't really wanted by this family, and they didn't really love me the way I wanted to be loved. Part of my story. Something I've always believed. Does that make it true? To me, that seems true. It's my truth. And it's not eternal truth. All right? So I can speak that, and I can own that, and I don't have to be limited by that, because it is a belief. It is a belief system. And the two letters in the front of belief system, BS. Yeah, beliefs are bullshit, okay? So I have my truth, and I can speak and own how I have been relating to the world by not feeling like I was totally loved the way I wanted to be. My family not understanding me, not getting me. Did I get love? Yes, I totally got love. Did my parents abandon me? No. Like, they did the best that they could. This is the truth of it, is me being 100% responsible for my life, for the way that I have encountered my life, the way that I have brought forth my own story, and no longer am I going to let myself be held back by that. No more. I am owning the fact that I created a story to the way that I was responding to my family, and I don't have to live like that anymore. It might be true. It might not be true. In my mind, it was true, but it is bullshit at the same time. Totally irrelevant for who I want to be and who I am, right? We can see our lives as either the cause of who we are or it's still affecting us by today, right? So me being born into a family, whether they loved me or wanted me or not, that can either limit me or that can bust me through and make me shine even brighter, and I can still love them at the same time. Yeah? So, truth. Can you live your life in more truth? Just because it's true to you doesn't mean it's true to somebody else. There's a difference between personal truth and eternal truth. If there is an eternal truth, that means that it's not going to change from one person to the next. All right? My experience was my personal truth. But that doesn't mean that it was everybody else's in my family. I had a great conversation with my sister this morning about it. And she said, Mindy, when mom and dad told us that they were pregnant with you, it was a miracle. They were so excited. We were all so excited. That's something I've never heard in my life before today. Like, that's amazing. I don't know why I didn't know that. And yet I didn't. And so it's all just part of the story. So we can recognize our stories as truth or as a truth that we've lived up to now and are now going to use that as a launch pad to make us be even bigger and better. Some of you have been through fucking horrendous things, all right? Really crap shit. Like you've been physically abused. You've been mentally or sexually abused. That stuff is awful. And I don't want to diminish any of the stuff that we've been through. All of us have been through our own type of shit. Parents who didn't love us, parents who were trying to live through us, and we could never stand up to their expectations, right? We've all been through so much. And you can either use that to keep you from living your fullest, or you can use that as the reason that you are the person that you are today, and you're here to serve, and you're here to help people get through the same shit that you've been through, right? God doesn't make mistakes, and he doesn't make crap. And he didn't start with you, and he didn't start with me. Whatever you are, whatever you've been through, has made you the person that you are today. And this is the type of strength that comes from real yoga. You get a taste of it. You flavor of this strength when you're practicing your asana because you're doing stuff with your body that you've never done before. But that is not the essence of it. The essence of real yoga, no matter if you're practicing the postures or not, comes from this inner strength, this inner knowing of who you are, the purpose that you're here to live, and the light that you are meant to shine. And it's a light that you can only shine in your own perfect way. No one else can shine your light for you in a better way. And the world needs you. The world needs you to be you, to live your soul's mission, to be in your highest purpose. And it might align with your career, but it might not. Maybe your career has nothing to do with your real divine purpose. But you are put on this planet for a reason. And getting in touch with that helps you get in touch with the things that you need to do, the things that you need to say, to no longer be ruled by fear of what other people might think of who you are or what you're doing or how you're saying it. The same post that I put up about my birthday and about who I am pissed off, I don't know if it pissed off my sister. It hurt my sister to a certain degree. But to other people, it was fucking inspirational, right? Like I was speaking directly to them and relating exactly what they've gone through. Everybody has a different story to tell. And we can use those stories because it is a part of our life right now to really embrace who we are. Right? You have skills that everybody has their own set of skills and it doesn't match anyone else. How do you love and embrace that about yourself? That's the truth of the matter, is really owning who you are, the things you've been through, letting those things be launch pads for serving the world even more. When you have hard experiences, start to view it as an opportunity for courage. Courage doesn't show up unless you have fear. Courage doesn't show up unless there is a challenge, right? And you are meant to do this, right? Changing your perspective entirely, getting your feet on the ground, getting yourself solid in your body, that's just the first steps on this journey. And for me, I am solid in my body. I don't need to have daily asana practice anymore, but other people do. I'm not diminishing daily asana practice, the postures. Do it if it feels right and it feels good. Listen to that, because that's your soul talking. So we need to be able to be honest with, what does our soul need to be here in front of the world right now? And for some of us, that means getting on your freaking yoga mat every day. Other people, it's taking a run or a walk. For me, it's meditation and getting in touch with my soul every single freaking day. She needs me and I need her. And this whole path, this journey, no matter what you've looked like up to now, it's been just right. And you can take it further. Yeah? That's the exciting thing to know, that yoga isn't limited by just these yoga classes that we've all gone to. There's so much freaking more out there. You can really embrace your greatness, your freaking limitless potential through this practice of yoga. And you don't ever really have to do, a seated straddle splits or a lotus pose or a crow pose or any other one of the numerous poses that are out there, 840,000 yoga poses that are out there, right? That's where inner yoga comes through. And that's what I love to teach. I love to teach people how to really own their shit and make you stronger because of it. Yeah? I love you. I love me, and we all have a part to play. We were born for this moment, right? And if you're in corporate America and your job doesn't feel very aligned, maybe it's not your job that you need to be focusing on, but how you affect the people that are in your job. Can you shine a little brighter for them? Maybe that's your purpose of being in that job, being in that role, is to really embody who you are, to show up fully as yourself. Embody who you really are, not the person you think is supposed to show up to work, but the person you know yourself to be deep inside. That's the goal of yoga, is to really own who you are so that you can live in your divine purpose. You can make the impact you know you're meant to make. That's the miracle yoga has to offer. And that's why so many people love to practice it, by the way, when they go to their yoga classes or they do their yoga classes online, especially now, is because it makes them feel more like them. I remember when I was a newly married woman and I moved to Alaska right after college to be with my husband, and I would go to the gym because there was no really other place to do this, and I would take my yoga book because there was no place to practice, and I would do the poses, and I would love the feel of how my body would move through all of this. And what I loved even more is that it made me feel like me again, like the Mindy I knew was always in there. And I know that you have the best version of you in there. And I know that it can feel really scary to tap into her or to him. But man, when you do, when you start living in alignment with her, life moves in your direction. The universe supports your flow. It supports what you're doing. So notice the thoughts that are in your head today. Notice if they're loving and supporting you and helping you move forward, or notice if they aren't. And being human is a blessing because we are the only animal on this planet that has the ability to change our thoughts. You are the ruler of your mind, and your mind can either be the gateway to freedom, to being your fullest self, or the mind can be the gatekeeper, keeping you in your small cage. And I don't want that cage around you anymore. I don't want that cage around anybody. You have a choice to make. You can start to recognize what's in your mind right now, not what was there yesterday or 5 minutes ago, but what is here right now for you. And where do you go from here? You can change those thoughts at any given moment. You can say, hey, small self. I call my small self a stinker right now. It used to be you stinky little, or you tricky little bastard. That was the name that I gave my small self a long time ago because it felt like a tricky little bastard. The mind is really tricky. But right now, I call it stinker. I say, hey, stinker, I see what you're doing. That's cool. I see it. But I am not going to let you keep doing that. I do not accept this. You are trying to keep me from my full purpose, from living the best life possible. And I don't accept it. And then I put something else there. And I say, I am freaking courageous. I am abundant. I am the person I am supposed to be right now. And just make up your own mantra. Put in there what you want that will serve your purpose and moving forward along this divine this divine path that only you can walk. Love yourself fully. Embrace your weirdness. Embrace the things that make you you. And don't be limited by them. They're just part of your story, right? Use the skills that you have. Use the skills that you have to move forward. You've learned so much in this life already. So use those skills to move forward. All right. And if anything really resonated today, then write down some of the things that you noticed that really resonated. Write those down in the comments because everybody's going to get something different from this talk. Write those down. And why I'm asking you to write these down is because I want them to stick. You might feel really motivated right now because of this talk, but what I want you to do is to keep that motivation going. And when you write down what you've learned, what you're taking from this, it helps instill it so that you can do it again tomorrow and the next day. Keep coming back to these distinctions so that you feel empowered to be you. That is yoga. Yes. I don't care if you can stand on your head. Don't care. If you can, awesome. If you can't, awesome. All right. And if this sounds amazing to you and you're really interested in this work, I am starting a beta program at the beginning of May, and it's to really help you empower yourself to move your career forward, to make your spiritual life and your material life really flow in the same direction. And to balance, if you've got family at home, to balance that work-family relationship. All right. If you want to do that, then just click on mindyarbuckle.com/talk and schedule me in for the next week. All right. I love you guys. I'm so glad I got to share part of my birthday with you, and I will talk with you all next week. Mwah!